What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K back again with another episode of a special episode, not another. Sometimes you get in the rhythm and you just say the same thing over and over again and it catches you. But no, this is a special episode of I guess Stadia Live Session. I'm going to bring back Prognosis because Prognosis is really better for these type of conversations. I just don't have it. I don't have the Prognosis themes and stuff hooked up yet, but we're going to work on that. With that being said, I'm recording this conversation and it's private right now. I'm going to live record it. And then, excuse me, I want to play it after some podcasts that normally air at this time. I don't want to bump heads and cause any controversy, anything like that. I'm trying to be as least controversial as I can with this message, even though whenever MM2K comes to the mic, because I'm fully transparent, there's always bound to be some type of controversy, right? All right, so let me do this real quick. I want to do one thing. That is, I want to go in here. I want to go into the current PNTS network Discord because I want to. It's Prognosis. Yo. Okay, there we go. All right, now you can see my avatar. All right, so here's why I want to have this discussion. Now, once again, the issue of the Stadia community as a whole being toxic is being brought up. Now, as you all know, I take not only offense to that, but when there's something that I don't agree with, like that, I think is corrosive to people getting the proper perspective on things, I respond. That's why this channel exists. It only exists as a counter narrative to the misinformation that was out there on Stadia. We're making sure that despite all that noise and all that stuff about Stadia, that the true factual stuff about Stadia is said. And then we, once we put the facts out there, then we pivot from the facts with our opinion. But that's the reason why this channel and this platform is here, as a counter narrative to misinformation. So before I get started, just so there's no mysteries, but I want to be able to fully explain myself here. Just hear me out. Before I get started, I will say that some names will be named, and I will do so, though, as infrequent as possible. And it will only be done to help those listening understand specific events I feel are critical to, yet again, people having the proper perspective to things that they're discussing. Some that will be named, and again, as brief as possible, have contacted me, have been in recent contact with me, because this has been very much so a tumultuous week, right? And I'm not going to deny that some of that tumultual, you know what I'm saying? I got to make up my own dictionary. But some of that stuff I have created. And there is a method to my madness. This was I am with the ish week. So during the chain of events of this week, I have had people reach out to me. You know what I'm saying? And they said, look, I don't want to be mentioned. I got no problems with you. I got no beef with you. We may not agree, but I feel like that I should be able to voice my opinion and not feel the heat of the MM2K barrel. And what I've explained to them is that no, I'm not randomly going out there just looking for people to go after. Like if you say something that's I don't agree with, I'm not taking a step back that I used to take. You know what I'm saying? Like what I've done over the last several months, and people know that, is I've made a concerted effort that even though I don't agree with something, even though I felt like something may have fit into that corrosive mold, because whenever I respond to something, it's the end of the world in so many words, I've taken a step back. And I said this week, I may not take as much of a step back as I have. And I've mentioned things in certain threads where I thought that the devil horns that were put on the Stadia community in particular were not fair and were overblown, and I've addressed those. And for those that want to hop in my threads because they feel like that they gotta defend said platform versus me per se, like it's not, if it was anybody else they wouldn't have said anything, but because it's me, MM2K, part of Stadia 100, that they gotta get on the attack and come against me, I've said you better have your stuff prepared, because if you're not prepared, you will feel the whirlwind of, I'm with the Ish Week. But that's not what this stream right here is about. I just wanted to clarify that for people. So it's not that I just wanted to go out there and name random names, but depending upon your participation and your engagement, I let that influence my engagement, okay? So I explained to them that me saying names will only be done to help those listening understand specific events I feel are critical, yet again, that people having the proper perspective. Now, those people have reached out to me, as I've said, and I've alerted them that due to the core nature their role plays within the community, news, it may be referenced only. However, I will stick to the rules that I always have. I will not name someone directly over an opinion alone. No. I will only briefly mention if the topic of a reasonable question they happen to be. So if someone says, well, hey, what do you think about jumping Jehoshaphat and this, that, and the other? You know, I'll address the action that may have involved that person, and then I'll go about my business. And lastly, and that will even be rare because I don't like answering questions about other grown adults. You're like, go ask them in the most cases. But if I think it's a relevant question, I will address it. Or in response to a malicious attack. So with that established, I think there are no mysteries now. Let's get started. So the first question that may pop up in people's heads is, well, MM2K, you feel like you got to so vigorously defend the Stadia community. Like, why you got to do that? And I feel like I got to do that because here's what I see. I see, as it relates to the entire Stadia community, that you have 1% that will go online and, yeah, you borderline harass people because they don't like Stadia. They go, or like everything Stadia, they have harassed me. You know what I'm saying? They have made it their due diligence to come after me. Excuse the squeaky chair, for things that I've said that were not pro Stadia. Why are you bringing up 60 frames per second? Why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about that? Stop doing that. You're feeding information. You talk about the canoe people, MM2K, but you're feeding the information. I get that all the time. And it's the same 5 to 10 to 12 people. It's the same people. 12 people out of thousands of pro Stadia gamers on social media. That's less than 1% if my numbers are correct. So those people come after MM2K. I'm not worried about it because you can feel whatever you feel. I may either ignore them, I may respond, whatever the case may be. But I am not about to say that 5 to 12 people, in worst case scenario, maybe a couple of dozen, that are rabid Stadia fans make the entire Stadia community toxic. Hell, I have way more rabid GFN fans that come after me, you know what I'm saying, for not just simply not liking GFN. How dare you not get if GFN is it'll be a situation where I didn't say anything negative about GFN at all, but because I won't bend the knee and say that GFN is superior in every way, they come and they come and they come and they send these it looks like excerpts from War and Peace, these 20-page monologues that would make Johnny Carson's eyes roll in the back of his head. They come to me with this stuff constantly, all the time, and I'm welcoming to them. I don't sit there and say the GFN community is toxic. And you can just imagine and that's just some of the stuff you might see in public. You can imagine the stuff that they say to me on Discord, not so much Twitter, because I guess Twitter somehow I got the security set up to where people that are positive, that got something sane to say to me, they can't get through. But on Discord, you can just imagine the stuff that they're saying to me. There's times that I've had to block people, and I've blocked people by mistake. Not just because what they said bothered me, but I didn't want to be bothered with it. I'm hardly on Discord unless I'm recording. Like, I don't want to be bothered with this stuff. You know what I mean? If you are in your feels, I'm pretty sure there's a pill for that. Go find it. Go get a prescription for it and find it. That's my take. And that's my take either way. If I have a problem with 60 frames per second, tough luck, deal with it. If I will not say GFN is the all-seeing God, and even with this new tier, I'm not impressed personally, I gotta see it to believe it, then tough stuff, deal with it. You know what I mean? So, I don't even do that. And I get way more egregious attack, malicious stuff thrown my way than these people out here that are on Twitter who are being debated. I'm going to say, less than 1% are those rabid Stadia fans. I want to say a good 30% are 20 to 30% are fact checkers. They're not attackers, they're fact checkers. What you got to understand is that Stadia is full of gamers that are passionate, but tech enthusiasts as well. So because they're tech enthusiasts, they know their stuff. They don't just shoot from the hip. Like, they're not content creators like us. Like, we want to be content creators and we want to talk about stuff. And a lot of us that want to talk about gaming, we may have a nice voice, we may have an articulation to ourselves, but we were really disconnected from gaming and what make things work. We just feel like that we would sound good on a mic. But yet we want to sound good on a mic to a group of people that know their stuff, that know what's going on, that know their gaming precedent, because Stadia was impressive to a lot of tech enthusiasts. So these tech enthusiasts, I want to say about 30% of them, when you say something that ain't right, they're going to check you on it. That's anywhere. And what it is that I just think that there were a lot of content creators who have never done this before, who have never done this anywhere else, who have not done with other communities, who thought it was just, I'm going to turn on this mic and say what I want and people would just clap. And if they had something negative to say, they just wouldn't listen and just let me go about my business. No. Tech enthusiasts, if they see you and hear you spreading false information, they're going to show up. And they ain't got to necessarily attack you. You may feel like you're being piled on because you probably didn't take into consideration that what you said was so wrong and so off base that it sent alarm bells to a bunch of people. Like if I were out here talking about the world being flat, despite natural science, I'm going to send alarm bells to so many people, especially science. I'm going to send so many alarm bells to scientists that are reasonably going to show up in my chat or show up on Twitter and challenge me. Like, where are you getting this stuff from? Help me understand, because you're talking about this like this is absolutist when everything around you doesn't suggest it. And you can't say, oh, because you're losing an argument, oh, well, Okay, maybe it's not scientific. That's just how I feel, and you're attacking me for my opinion. No, they're going to say, no, you just stood up on stage 5, 10, 15 minutes ago and talked about this in an absolutist form, and you were misinforming people when we got to do the job of informing people of science. You're misinforming people. So you're counterproductive to what we do in general anyway. That it's the same with the tech community. You grabbed a mic, you went and talked about this product to where at its core, at launch at least, it resonates with the tech enthusiasts, and you're miscommunicating tech-related stuff. So just like if I was sitting there talking as a flat earther and talking definitive about it to a bunch of scientists, you know what I'm saying? If I'm sitting there talking about some new technical marvel and my information is wrong, it's going to send alarm bells to the tech people, and they're going to respond. So I think we have a lot of new content creators that have never done this before that just were not cognizant to that dynamic. And the first thing they want to levitate to is the word toxic. So if you're out here saying toxic, and that ends the conversation for you because that's what you want to do, then you say to yourself, aha, now it works. That's what we'll do. Whenever I'm shooting from the hip, because I just like getting on the mic and talking. And I like getting on the mic and talking and making myself feel confident, like I know what I'm talking about. And I don't care if the general audience that I'm speaking to know better than what I'm saying. There are some people that are going to listen to me, and I'm going to get through to those people. And when somebody that knows better approaches me, I'm not going to just do what I should do and vet my information before I spill it. I'm going to continue to do what I want to do because it's easier for me to do it this way. I get more clicks and attention this way. What I'm going to do is when the people that know what's really going on approach me, I'm just going to call them toxic. And I'm going to say it's a pile on and you guys are toxic. So that's why the Stadia community isn't toxic. It's just full and chock full of tech enthusiasts or people that do their homework, and you can't pick up a mic and speak to them and tell them about tech when it's factually wrong. Tech people are about facts. Just like scientific people or scientists are about science. So I can't get on the mic and talk to them like the world is flat and expect them not to say anything. That's not how this works. So that's why I feel like the Stadia community is not toxic. They're just doing the natural thing that their brand of consumer would do. And because of our desire and our want, our selfish desire and want to just be able to get on here and say whatever we want to whoever without being checked, instead of us vetting our information as these people are, showing us that we need to do, we say, no, I'm just going to call you toxic because when I do that, it angers you and you don't want to bother with me. And then that does what I wanted to do. It ends the conversation for me. And it kind of adds some validity perception-wise to what I'm saying, because people can relate to, oh, I'm being attacked and things are toxic. Okay? So let's just take that into consideration. Here's another thing too, beyond the tech people. Here's what we got to understand. The Stadia community, even beyond the tech people, are just passionate gamers. And these are passionate gamers who feel Stadia is important to the future of gaming, to the evolution of gaming. This is due to the marvels of the technology. And too often, people from the outside who just didn't understand the marvels, didn't understand Stadia's long-term goals. They first underplayed the tech because the entire offering wasn't to their liking. Now they didn't understand the long-term goals. So they just said, oh, this is crap, this is crud, and nobody should like this, right? Then when I didn't work to kill off the effort from Google, they went out of their way to misrepresent what was required to get involved with Stadia, what the lineup was, the cost, a variety of different things. And simply just lied. Now, this, of course, had an unfair effect on those from the outside looking in and their perspective on the product. So in response, the Stadia community, which I could tell even before I even got here, the Stadia community said, we're going to make our own safe haven. And that safe haven had two pillars to it. At first, it had two pillars. Those pillars were, we're going to create a safe haven where people can safely enjoy and discuss the product without being judged. And two, a safe haven where factual information could be shared on the platform. Those were the safe havens that was created by the community at first. Okay. But then as time grew, there were a lot of frustrated gamers who they were playing on Stadia and they were trying to get their friends on the platform and they couldn't even get them to try it because the friends were misinformed by those outside of the community continuing to spread lies. And they're like, damn, these lies are so thorough in their purpose that I can't even get the friend that I know, the person that I know, to listen to me that would normally trust me. These people presented their fake news case so well that the person that I know who should trust my judgment to a degree will not listen. And people began to get frustrated with that. Or in my case, just people who I knew this would benefit, this product would benefit them. They were told things that I knew were told specific lies that I know had an underlying effect on them trying the product out. Like if they weren't lied to, they would have tried it. Like I got a good friend, his name is Seth. There's a lot of famous content creators, by the way, that like Stadia and still enjoy Stadia. Despite the supposed dry spell that many feel is here. Why? Because they don't overshoot the moon on the product. Stadia is part of their portfolio. It isn't their main way to game. They still feel like they get the ultimate and superior experience elsewhere. So they're not worried about XYZ game coming day and date. They realize that because of their need as far as game volume is concerned, that they're doing nothing but torturing themselves as making Stadia their all access hub. You know what I mean? Like it's not ready for that yet for a volume gamer. So they do the appropriate thing. Where a game comes to Stadia that's coming everywhere else, because of the portability of Stadia and the marvels of the tech and stuff like, and the convenience, there's a strong likelihood for people like Doc Dark, he's a prime example of this, that they will get the game on Stadia. But if there's a game that they want to play, or there is a slew of games coming out that aren't coming to Stadia, they don't fret. They're going to play it on that platform, which would get the majority of their time, because the majority of those games are on those platforms that they want to play. So I get a lot of content creators that come to me and really like Stadia, but they'll never say it out in public because it'll be damaging to the content that they create. There's been such fun and such a horrible motif added to Stadia that, it's like a death sentence for a lot of content creators. I know, because when I started covering Stadia before I came to the Stadia community, my growth on my individual channel came to a screeching halt. Because I wanted to cover some Stadia stuff. It's just a video game. If I would have never told them what platform it was on, they would have enjoyed the content just as equally as they would have anywhere else. But the simple fact that it's Stadia, they didn't want to enjoy it. Like, I've had people come in, I can look at, you view the numbers, and the numbers go up, and I have people one by one ask me, oh my God, that looks cool. Like, what are you playing this on? And I'll be like, oh, and I'll go show them. I'll say, this is Stadia. And they'll be like, no. I'll say, this is Stadia. They're like, no, this ain't no Stadia. You're lying. And I'm like, no, it's Stadia. Here, look, let me show you. And I'll minimize the screen and show them that I'm playing from a web browser. And immediately they'll leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're no longer there. Like, I'll go to type their name. I'll do the @ and look at their, and they've left. That's how much of a stigma Stadia has with the general gaming populace. They would have enjoyed the gameplay, regardless, no other way. But as soon as I mentioned it was Stadia, they walked off, and they're no longer there. Happens all the time. So, and that's happened because people have an agenda on the outside, and they want to deter people from playing Stadia. They feel threatened by it. They felt threatened by it for some reason. Like when Stadia was doing good in Q4, and it seemed like that people were going to start becoming welcoming to it, then you really saw the anger. I even saw the anger with people that other podcasters, like, Stadia's going to kill gaming. And I mean, all the truth started coming out. It's like they had some truth serum. It's going to kill gaming and cloud gaming and all this other, you don't even own the game anymore. And I'm like, you guys, I said, what is your catalog full of, physical or digital? Oh, I mean, it's mostly digital. I said, you've already succumbed to DRM. So you don't own none of these games anyway. You're only given a license. But you've given away more control of the game when you go with the digital copy. That's all this is. Stop it. You just installing something on a piece of hardware. But if they deactivate that license through the DRM that you need to even play it, it's the same thing. Stop. Okay. So, that made people mad. And because that made people mad, that fellow gamers were being lied to and therefore being separated from something that they may likely enjoy, we then had a third pillar added to, again, the first two pillars, which were people can safely enjoy and discuss the product without being judged. Here, let me do this. I'm going to put this out here. Just so, because, physical cues are always good to have, and I want people to see this. Chroma, and I'm gonna do something like this, lower thirds. I want to put this out here. Give me a second, y'all. Bear with me. I know we were just flowing along. See, Clive should have never given me this toy. If he'd have never given me this toy, then we wouldn't. Then I wouldn't even be pausing things in order to do this. Pillar. So here we go. All right. So that was pillar 1. Pillar 2 was this, and I'm about to introduce you guys to what pillar 3 was. So let's minimize this to make sure you guys can see this. Okay, so pillar 1 of the Stadia community was that people can safely enjoy and discuss the product without being judged. That was pillar 1. Okay. Pillar 2 was factual information could be shared on the platform. So that was pillar 1 and pillar 2 of the safe haven that the Stadia community that welcomed me at first. Well, that's what they developed. Because of the things that I just went on and on about the product being misrepresented and gamers being strayed away when erroneously when this is something that would have been for them, a third pillar emerged. And that third pillar was disseminating of said factual information was observed for the sake of unsuspecting gamers. Now, what does that mean? That means that the factual information that was Pillar 2, we were watching how that information was being spread outside of the community, because within the community, we were all about spreading the factual information. So that was that. Whether people were extremely optimistic to those that were like, I mean, I like what this thing is about, but I think it could do a lot better. Despite that opinion, everybody ensured that they had their information factual. You know what I'm saying? So, and therefore, nobody went too far off the reservation. People could be the most optimistic, the most pessimistic, but still pivot off of facts. Now, it was that third pillar that was the most controversial amongst the community at first. And we here at Stadia Dosage were on the side of this third pillar, looking out for gamers. Again, that's why we started this platform. And some didn't feel like it was necessary for us to do the things that we did in conjunction with this new third pillar. But others agreed, as the rhetoric started to build and more lies were being spread, they realized that if there wasn't a counter narrative, that there would be given no oxygen to the facts, and the possibility of Stadia getting anybody new would be abysmal if this continued, if this misinformation would go unchecked at all. So then this third pillar became a systemic pillar of the Stadia community. These three pillars were the core that further bonded the community. I remember when I did my Paul Tassi videos, when I did my Tom Warren videos, because I went at them, and I went at the fact that they didn't do their due diligence so hard, that's what brought out other content creators to want to talk about what I was doing. I wanted to talk more and focus more on this third pillar. We started hearing things like advocacy and making sure that people had the right information to make the decision that best suited them. All that was birthed from this third pillar that began becoming a staple and eventually became a staple of this safe haven that this community created. What we would do was go out, if you think about it in reverse, the purveyors of the third pillar would go out and talk to the people out in the wilderness. Think of it as a post-apocalyptic world, and there's danger out there. So the troops of the third pillar would go out and defend the innocent out there in the woods and bring them back and bring them back to the safe haven. And when the people came back to the safe haven, they would get nourishment in the factual information that they were provided, and then their ability to flourish and grow within that community to discuss it. Again, whether you were the most optimistic or the most pessimistic. So it was a great unifying circle that the entire community was behind. These all were pillars of what we were all doing. Okay? But then, those who abided by the third pillar began to not abide by it. What do I mean by that? There were those that would hit me up. Did you see this article, MM2K? Man, I can't wait to see you create a video on this one. Actually hyping me up to do the things that I'm known for doing. Addressing misinformation and putting the facts around you so you can't escape the facts. Right? And just like now, we had those from the periphery on the outside who, because they didn't study the facts and didn't know what they were talking about, their last motivation was to say, oh, you guys are toxic. Because again, once you start saying toxic, people just start walking away from you like, oh, you're pathetic. And you don't care what they think about you as long as the conversation stops. So it's a win-win for you, right? And we started to see people who would call that behavior out now actually using it themselves. Why? Because they started becoming more and more pessimistic of Stadia, which is okay. But I don't know. I mean, I think you can look at it on many fronts. I don't know if people became pessimistic of Stadia and then they thought like, well, because I'm not really digging this thing anymore, I ain't gotta, worry about my integrity when it comes to this. I ain't gotta keep myself factual about this, because here's the thing. When you have some standards about what you do, you maintain those same standards whether you did it because you like something and then you pivot to something else or not. Part of your character. So you stay there, even if your opinion changes. If you say to yourself, look, my logic is, and what I believe, my belief system is that regardless if you like something or not, speak about it honestly. If you don't speak about it honestly and you keep running around social media spreading misinformation, when somebody tags you with the truth, don't come screaming bloody murder to me. Because more egregious than someone tagging you with the truth is the fact that you lied to fellow gamers. If that was your stance when you like Stadia, that should be your stance even if you don't like it anymore. So maybe you're not positive about it. I don't know, and I'm not really, this ain't gonna fit into my gaming portfolio, whatever the case may be, because it's different. But I can see where it's for XYZ and ABC, so I'm not gonna sit here and lie about it and say it's not for anybody, but after the dust settled, I realized it isn't for me. That's still holding good character. As far as how you address the community, that's still holding a standard, which you should do, whether your mind changes or not. And we didn't see that happen. The dissemination of said factual information, one that was guarded by the community, was now lauded by the community. Just like that. Just like that. What it took was a connect. The July Connect. We had the April Connect that was fantastic. It really made inroads. It really had some hardcore gaming people say, oh, congratulations to Stadia. I remember they said that to me. And then that July Connect, which was very, very casual based, made a lot of people feel, is this platform even speaking to me anymore? Which was a reasonable feeling. I get it. And what they decided to do is they decided to slowly walk away from the platform. Which, whether they did it slowly or fast, that's not the issue. Again, it's still keeping up your same characteristics, because that is what applies to your integrity, whether you stay with the platform or you walk away. And even though we were disappointed at that Connect at first, after some thought and talking to other content creators, we saw the impact that it could have on the casual gamers. And then we started seeing the reception in the news that wasn't fully positive, but it was way more positive than Stadia News normally was. We said, aha, now we get it. Now we get it. Not for me, the games mentioned here ain't for me, but aha, we get it. We here at Stadia Dosage, we're on the side of looking out for gamers. And some didn't feel it was necessary anymore for us to do that. Their stance was, I'm frustrated and I ain't got to keep up my integrity about this platform. I'm mad, I'm angry. but others agreed that it was a noble and worthy cause for the sake of fellow gamers, regardless if we were disappointed or not. So now, after all this is happening, you have a community who looked at those that used to abide by those pillars or rules of engagement regarding the dissemination of facts and pivoting your arguments off of facts and not conjecture. Now go against that. And that's when the rift began. And again, as I alluded to earlier, I personally feel that maybe not all, but too many cases, those individuals that no longer abided by that third pillar because they were upset, those are the individuals now that are practicing in the same deeds that we riled against when they were happier. And therefore the T word is their best way out, as I said earlier. And the community isn't stupid, because we've talked behind the scenes. You guys know that. And when we've talked behind the scenes, what have you guys said to me? You have said the exact same thing that MM2K, they used to be on podcasts and talk with you with and everything. Now those individuals are starting to do. We see it. We're not dumb, because there was a period of time to where in certain cases I would try to defend people that did that. And I got caught, like, people had serious conversations with me behind the scenes in groups, one-on-one or whatever, and was like, if you don't want your integrity affected, then you gotta hold to those characteristics, friend or foe. You ain't gotta attack and, tell people to dedox a friend that you don't agree with. You shouldn't do that at all. But friend or foe, when somebody does wrong, it's wrong. And even if you're not going to address the wrong that they did, do not defend it, MM2K. And I said, you know what? You guys are right. So as time went on, and as content creators decided to pivot, and again, they started ignoring that part, a very integral part of being a pillar of the community and what held the community together. People started talking and deciding that, hey, let's try to make a push towards other platforms, see if we can get the community to come along with us. Yes, and I don't care what anybody says, and the people know I'm telling the truth. Those conversations were had. I'm not going to name names who said it. I'm not going to name names of those who were behind that push. They can sit there and talk about toxic all they want, but they know the truth. There was that push to say, hey, look, we feel this type of way and we feel slighted, whatever. Let's go over, let's teach them a lesson. Let's teach them Google people a lesson. Let's go over to this platform. You go to that one, you go to this one, and all that other stuff. And let's try to bring these people with us. And I looked at that, and it wasn't the integrity part of that. Because it's one thing if you want to do something because you feel slighted. But you can't convince people that they haven't felt slighted to come on over. Like, it's not their problem that we as content creators didn't get XYZ from Google. That's an issue between us and them. They came to us, frankly, to talk about Stadia. So we're trying to pull them into our fights that ain't got nothing to do with them. And for two, it's insulting because it makes it seem like that just because you're on the other side of the mic, that they're just mindless drones and that we're that damn good that they're just going to follow us and wherever we no, it doesn't work like that. And a lot of that, I've addressed this in previous videos, a lot of that is tagged to and associated to the misunderstanding of what it takes to make this work. Like, I don't have all the answers, but I at least know that wasn't going to work. So when I kept to all three pillars, again, people that the community was about at its greatest moments. Again, a safe haven where people can safely enjoy and discuss the product without being judged. Factual info could be shared on the platform. And lastly, dissemination of said factual information was observed for the sake of the unsuspecting gamer. When I decided to keep all three pillars intact and how I moved forward, whether it was friend or foe, of course, with friends, I was much nicer than I was to Tom Warren and Paul Tassi. They would tell you that. They would look at, if I saw something that a friend said on social media and I challenged it, trust me, it was a lot nicer and just a challenging engagement of what you saw between Paul Tassi and Tom Warren, because I was going for the juggler there, because I felt like that they should have definitely known better. They're journalists. They have the blue check. They have a lot of influence. And they know that they can mislead a whole bunch of people. A Joe Blow content creator that gets 65 people watching the show, that influence ain't so big. I mean, it's still not to be excused. But the people that really should have been ashamed of themselves for what they were doing, for misinforming gamers because of their own selfish motifs and needs. Yes, I went for the juggler with them. And I didn't hold any bars. But I was definitely cordial with my friends or people that were part of the community. I just challenged them, and I did challenge them rigorously. And for a moment, as I did challenge some, we contributed together in ways of having fathomable discussion without personal attacks. And we would go and broadcast it. See, you see this thread? This is how you engage in this difference of opinion within the Stadia community. So it was cool. But then that T word just started being thrown out. It just really started getting bad. And then I guess there was a bigger push because I know conversations were going on. I just wasn't part of them anymore. That, again, there were these bigger pushes for these other platforms, and people were thinking of ways of trying to get y'all to follow it. And then things really just got weird. And fast forward, that's where we're at today. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of the people that helped usher it in, that were in charge of disseminating information communication-wise, not all, I won't even say most, but a good number of them were those that did exactly what I detailed. They went from respecting all three pillars to, because of their frustrations, whatever it was, to no longer doing so. And I'm a firm believer that regardless of where I feel personally, when it comes to a community and y'all develop a pillar that the village or the community follows, y'all stick to it. You just might have to leave the village. Say, okay, I'm going to respect that y'all do this and that and this and that. And when I was doing it, it was through, it had integrity to it. And now that I'm no longer going to be part of this village, I'm going to respect it for the integrity that it has had. I'm not going to dismiss it and let my emotions drive me and just completely flip the script. You can flip the script on your opinion of something, but not on the characteristics of your practices. And that's what we started seeing, that firm characteristics of reasonable practices were no longer being followed. So that's that portion of it. Here's something else so what does that got to do with today? And this is where I might have to name a name or few, but I'm going to do it as frequent as possible. Cloudy, as you all know, Cloudy with a Chance of Games, shout out to them. They've decided to back out of Stadia coverage. And quite frankly, without being smart or sarcastic, because I don't think there's no need to do that, I applaud their decision. And I feel that people shouldn't antagonize them. Just let them follow through with their decision. Okay? We all just move forward. But what I also don't think is, I don't think it's fair to demagogue the entire community because of those who do antagonize them. Again, it's less than 1%. We're talking about thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Stadians, people that still love this platform. And you're talking about a dozen, maybe a couple of dozen, if I'm really, that sit there and do this stuff. And let me give you an example of why that part isn't fair as well. For instance, supposedly some incident occurred the night before they announced this move that kind of jump kicked this decision. Now, I, as a major figurehead, who, even though I don't follow a lot of these people, I get people coming to me all the time with stuff, and I got to tell them, I don't want to hear it. And a lot of it I ignore. And then if it's the big powwow stuff, I'll remember it, but I'm not even thinking about it, right? Even I don't know what this was that happened. And again, this is Stadia Dosage, MM2K here. Y'all know that the ones that try to feed me information when I be like, no, I don't even want to get into that. I'm not beefing with this cat or that. It's not what you think. So don't try to feed me anything to fuel anything, right? Even I didn't catch one of this stuff. I still don't know. At the time of this recording, I don't know. And guess what? I'm not going to look it up. I'm not going to look because I don't want to get in the middle of it. But I will say this, that if it was truly toxic and if it was truly egregious, that the community as a whole, the majority of the community doesn't condone. Let me give you an example. Us at PNTS Network, and PNTS Network is significantly bigger than our content creators that you see. There are people that are working behind the scenes doing stuff, and we're getting more and more as time goes on because we're really doing a big overhaul. You'll see in the next coming months. So our crew is diverse. And on this situation, they're diverse as well. I'm here to tell you that our thoughts of Cloudy's move range from, oh wow, they shouldn't have stopped, to hey, their decision, I'm not going to celebrate or get angry anyway, to okay, I'm glad that they did this. It's about time they stopped. Those feelings range from that. We got people that work at PNTS Network, even that work and do some things for Stadia Dosage as far as promoting videos and stuff like that, that are pure GFN heads, that love GFN and think Stadia sucks, right? That didn't mind Cloudy. You've just never met them and don't know who they are. So I know if our crew is diverse and then on multiple occasions we've bumped heads and our crew can still maintain not decorum as far as this decision is concerned, then I know the greater Stadia community is much more diverse. And the majority of them wouldn't condone anything that's truly toxic that would have occurred. But I don't know what happened. So I'm not going to get into that. And I'm not going to look to find out either. I'm just going to say, if it is truly toxic and it was truly bad, the greater Stadia community at mass will address it. Okay? The fact of the matter is you can't put us in any boat. Neither is it fair for it's just not fair for the community. Neither is. For saying that, oh, this is the Stadia community that's behind us. Like we all conspire, we all know what everybody's going to do. And even for, like, again, bringing it back to PNTS Network. We've had one member that is recognizable go on about certain things or whatever. And another member come in and say, whoa, stuff that they're talking about ain't got nothing to do with me. And I ain't got no issue with said individual that is the subject matter of this. That's how diverse we are, despite us bumping heads and what we've bumped heads over. So can't put us in a one particular boat like that. I don't think it's fair. My personal thoughts are, for full transparency, is this may be for the best. Here's my thoughts on that. Why this may be for the best. Stadia news may be lighter in volume as of late than the other cloud platforms. Maybe not so much Luna, but if Stadia content may not be as promising as, well, I don't want to say promising, but it may not be as plentiful as far as game releases as GFN. But if you feel compelled to drop coverage because of your objective thoughts on that, because there are a lot of people that make up the Stadia community that think that this information is great. We got Far Cry 6, Riders Republic, Dragon Ball Z was just announced, Kakarot, you got the other fighting game that was announced, Child of Light just dropped, all these new features and all this other stuff, and we can drop weekly updates on things that are happening in the community. There's a lot going on in between the Stadia news and the Stadia community, where when you look at Stadia in totality, the game releases may be light, but the content creators still are having great, robust discussions about a multitude of things. And where you might have a whole bunch of games dropping on GFN, you don't get a lot of community chatter like how you do over in Stadia. So if you feel like that because your own personal bias, that's not what you want to cover, and that it's not good enough for you to cover, what the community, going over the things that the community is talking about and they're excited about, one of the most vibrant communities in the greater cloud community, that is, then coverage of Stadia would be outside of your scope. I'm not going to insult you for your decision. I'm just saying, if that's your perspective on it, then yeah, you shouldn't cover Stadia, because I can flip it on the head. I don't personally care for GFN. Let's just take this news out of the picture. I don't care for GFN. The games coming on board are meaningless to me personally because I don't like the stream quality. I just went online again to check to see if my version of Cyberpunk has the new 3080 cards, which I don't personally think that it's going to make much of a difference to the stream quality. And I checked my configuration. It has the 2080 card, which should be good enough. Looks horrible to me. Looks horrible. I immediately had to turn it off. So that's how I feel personally. But despite how I feel personally, and despite me not caring about any game on the platform until I know the stream quality is superb, like I tried Far Cry 6. It's the worst version to me out of them, Luna and Stadia. Stadia has better effects, less pop-ins, better fidelity. Amazon has the best balance if you're looking at it from a 1080p perspective. I think they have the best. So if you're playing in 1080p, I feel like Luna's your best bet. Then dead last to me is GFN. I don't like the anti-aliasing. I don't like the pop-in. I don't like the draw distances. It's just a mess to me. But despite that, if you go to PNTS Network and you look at the 2 articles that I wrote on GFN, you wouldn't be able to tell. If you didn't hear me say that, you wouldn't have been able to tell any of that from me. And that's what I think it takes to do well-rounded journalism. Like, despite what your personal feelings are, you take yourself out of your own prism to just relate the general news just to inform the populace, because it's bigger than you. When you're reporting news, it's about the community that you're talking to. You can throw in your conjecture or your opinion later in an opinion piece, but I'm old school. It's the job of the news publication to inform. And whether you look at my Stadia articles or my GFN articles, that's what I do. I just inform. I put in the resources where you can look at more, the block quotes and all that other stuff. It's the same. If my name wasn't there off of what I just told you, off of current trends of where you see people inject too much of their opinion on this, you wouldn't have been the wiser. And what I do too in the article is, regardless of my own and personal opinion, you'll notice that the next to the last paragraph always, I'm gonna peep you on game. Next to the last paragraph, I always try to touch on that specific target demo's thoughts of said action. I might say, you know what? The community at whole thought it was good. The community at whole thought it was bad. It was mixed, but it was more, not just my feelings on it. And I don't try to make my feelings prevail. I try to take a snapshot of the entire community, not the part of the community that I coincide with the most, because that's taking the fact-based cascading that I feel atypical journalism should be, and trying to make it about you instead of the information. So if it's all about you more than the information, and you don't like said product, then maybe you shouldn't cover it. Stadia has a vibrant community, and for the most part, they adore what they're getting. You may see hardcore gamers on the periphery go up on social media like Claverland and Status. It's a few of us that are on social media. Oh man, this, that, and the other, including me at times, about 60 frames per second. You might see us bellyache about some things. But the greater Stadia community, for the most part, the ones that you don't see on social media, they just sit and observe, or they just playing the games, they don't feel that way. How do I know? Because when we put polls out, when other publications that also aren't the most adoring the Stadia put polls out, Stadia, positive aspects of Stadia always win the day. When GFN comes out with the new tier, are you jumping on that? Majority of people in the poll that I put out there know I had the biggest response that I've ever had on any poll. And I know a lot of people came to that poll specifically because they saw MM2K reporting GFN stuff. So they wanted to put their 2 cents in too, whether they said something in the chat or not. Still, the majority of people said, no, it's not for me. Even other places. Where are you playing this weekend? You playing GFN, whatever. Stadia always wins the day. There's a vibrant Stadia community, and there's things that they're excited about. Whether I'm personally excited about them or not. So I feel like, as somebody that is writing a piece that is to inform, like this, I don't like the pieces that try to play gumbo, where they're trying to inform you, but then they make the news about their conjecture. I think they belong on separate places of the dish. Let's inform in one article and just keep it straight about the information. And then if you want to come in and give your piece or how you take this information, do that. And if you can't do that, despite there being a community that thinks that there's enough for them out there, if you don't feel what they feel and you feel that your personal belief system doesn't allow you to be able to connect and just write about the information that, again, is satisfactory to a good number of cloud gamers, I would say a very significant portion of the cloud community, then you shouldn't write about them. And that's why I say I think it's for the best. And I didn't say any of that to be mean or malicious. I'm just saying you got to be self-aware. And Cloudy is being self-aware. And I applaud them for that. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Ultimately, I wish them the best of luck. I want to give Duncan his props for the things that he's done when he was a pivotal figure in the Stadia community. Things like organizing Stadia Super Saturday, Saku, a lot of the stuff. I've had conversations with the good brother behind the scenes when this stuff was popping in the community. Y'all just have no idea how much he did. So you definitely cannot ignore that. And my message to the community, even you couple of dozen people that want to celebrate and tap dance over this, don't do that. Just allow Cloudy to move into the sunset as it relates to Stadia content gracefully. No malicious shouting their way, because there's no need for all of that from anyone. Because we got plenty of people out over here on the enthusiastic Stadia side that are ready to pick up the torch. Let them bow from Stadia content gracefully and let them do their thing. And as far as Duncan is concerned, give him the kudos that he does deserve for the time that he was involved with the content. Because I will. So with that said, we're going to close out on this. That officially creates a new dawn for Stadia as far as the community engagement is concerned. Now, I have talked to Duncan. I have. And I'm not going to give you the nooks and crannies of the conversations, but I will share some of the things that I believe that he wanted me to share, or make sure that in my talking about this, that I made abundantly clear. So to confirm, for those of you that don't know, Cloudy is pulling back your coverage on Stadia to a need to report basis. Okay? And Duncan will continue, though, to provide his opinions on forums where cloud gaming in general are topics of discussion. Nonetheless, when he does engage in these conversations, these are his opinions and not Cloudy. Because again, Cloudy is pulling back from general or periodic Stadia coverage. And he does respectfully ask that we recognize this moving forward. And I think that's more than fair. So I do ask on his behalf to even that smidgen on the Stadia community, let's respect those wishes. This is a transition period, so let's respect those wishes, okay? Now, I feel like that I'm inclined to talk about what this transition period means for us. And I want you to rest assured that we at PNTS Network, we're committed to serving the Stadia community as the way that you've been looking forward to being served. We get you, and we know what you want. And the unique nature of this community is unparalleled, and we feel you deserve recognition. And a lot of people may feel like, oh man, well, who do you guys think you are and all this other stuff. And what it is that this community it's not just about the Stadia platform, but it's about the community. Like the Stadia community does things that other communities just don't do. And fans of other services just play. They just want to, the appearances, they just want to see games on said platform and the game library to grow. And there's no interaction, there's no camaraderie all like that on the other platforms. It's just about watching the said content creator and pounding your chest. Yeah, I play on that too. But with the Stadia community, there's so much more, and they want that difference to be recognized. So we get it, and we get you. So here's what we will do, and what we will vow. We will continue to maintain our Stadia-specific content on web, audio, and video. Meaning, Stadia Dosage will be untouched. The Stadia Dosage Hub on PNTS Network website will continue to be its own hub. And our audio content will also be Stadia-specific, Stadia 100. We will also ensure that we preserve the content that brought you to us. That content that I just mentioned, we're gonna preserve it as is. until we can't cover Stadia no more. Therefore, we are making the decision, and I think no better time than now. We're making the decision to take Cloud Gamer Chronicles, which was part of our members' subscription service, but we're going to take that fully off the channel. We're taking it off, and we're going to transition it to a standalone offering to keep Stadia Dosage 100% Stadia, even in the member content. And that's a good thing, because if you did like the Cloud Gamer Chronicles content, now there's no paywall behind it. And there'll be more on that as far as those that'll curate that content and the content that'll be provided. There'll be more on that later. We get it. And because we get it, that's why we're making this move. We get that if you want general cloud gaming news, you know where to go. It's simply put, it's just many of you appreciate and desire Stadia specific content. And that's why you came to us. You came to us for our thoughts on Stadia specific content. So we'll keep the platform specializing on the thing that you want. And with that, I think these are very interesting days ahead of us on the cloud gaming front, including Stadia. So I can't wait over the next few weeks and months to share with you our updated content and share those moments with you directly. Thanks. That's it from your boy. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And like as I always say, who cares what I think? But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. They'll lead you to the Broadband Bullies, PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, soon to be Cloud Gamer Chronicles, and Stadia Dosage. With that said, y'all have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.